Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's Weekly Energy Boost. My name is Elisheva, and this week I am joined by, try not to be too starstruck, but I am joined today by Batya and Chaim Solomon. When have we ever had a husband and wife duo on the show with me? So, if you're tuning in for your first time, we want you to know that the Weekly Energy Boost is really weather forecast for the spiritual energy for the coming 7 days. Every week, on the show, we pour over Kabbalistic text, trying to pull out the most powerful, practical, and effective prescriptions from the wisdom of Kabbalah. So it's a combination of wisdom, tools, and personal experience. Not both, but Batya, Chaim, and I are not only teachers of the wisdom of Kabbalah at the Kabbalah Center, we also do work with students one-on-one. And I think one of the things you'll see as we go through today's show is how much, the conviction that we have in what we're sharing not only comes from our decades of use of this wisdom, but also the experiences that our students have had over the years only validates and affirms the power of what we share with you today. I want to start with Chaim simply because we had Batya last week and she got to share a lot of what her work in the Kabbalah Center is about. Okay. Chaim, you invented, you put on the market something that is truly unique and powerful. Can you share with us a little bit about Spiritual Sundays and who you are and what you do?
Well, just quickly, my background, 10 years before I came to Kabbalah, I had been studying various spiritual systems. And I was teaching something called Science of Mind. So that led me to the Kabbalah because I understood from all these various writings that Kabbalah was the source of all spiritual wisdom. So after a number of years in the center, I realized there are people who are lost out there. They don't want to be involved in their religion per se because they see other facets of life. They want to be involved in spirituality. And so I decided about 4 years ago to start a Sunday energy boost that would attract people of all races, all nationalities, who are just looking for spiritual understanding and ways that they could make their life better. And of course, at this point, 4 years ago, it'd been many years that Kabbalah has become a household word. So people came, and it's just, it's consciousness, inspiration. We do a meditation. And it's been going on 4.5 years now, and we have people like you, and I hope many of the people who will be watching this will be from Spiritual Sunday, and they're just looking for how the universe works and how I can use those tools and that technology to make my life better. And that's really what Kabbalah is all about.
And where can they find Spiritual Sunday?
It's on Facebook. If you go to Chaim Solomon on Facebook page or Spiritual Sunday, you'll see my picture, and that's where you can find it. We stream live, and it's also left on there for a number of weeks.
I think, any innovation in bringing spirituality to the world is remarkable. I always talk about how, I don't think that, let's say, the author of the Zohar, of Shimon Bar Yochai 2,000 years ago, envisioned that, we could have a conversation that would reach thousands of people about these powerful teachings, or let alone women having that conversation as well. So we're really, I've watched a number of the show, call it a show, what would you call it? Sermon, service, product, message. No, but really, I think that as we get through our years in studying Kabbalah, we meet more people and we're more in tune with what's going on out there. And that makes us more effective in how we communicate it as well. And one of the great things about what you're doing is you're really reaching a people in a way that's relatable and approachable and isn't, I think 20-something years ago, spirituality was crystals and, shaman and things like that. And now it really has hit the marketplace.
Well, like our teachers always talk about, Kabbalah is 50th century science, and we're now in the 21st century. So we're almost 3,000 years ahead. The beauty is science is starting to catch up.
Right.
Quantum physics, relativity, things like that are proving to people that there are all these energies. And the amazing thing is, as Kabbalah teaches us, the soul of every person is the same. It's created by the Creator. It works on the same technology. And so the beauty of what we're teaching in the Kabbalah Center is how everybody can activate the light of the Creator in their soul and make their lives better. And if we get everybody using that one operating system, then everybody can express their uniqueness, but still in a unified way. And that's ultimately what every religion and spirituality is teaching about, how to bring love your neighbor as yourself to the world. The issue is not getting divisive and say, well, that just means for the Jew or the Christian or the Muslim or the Buddhist or the Hindu, but it's for everyone. And that's, in Spiritual Sunday's case, that's the beauty of it. It's a universal message that everybody can feel in their soul, and by using the tools, have transformation.
And that's, by the way, to Chaim's point, the basis of this show and Spiritual Sunday is that there is a unique energy to every 7-day period. And in the same way that you may check the weather forecast when you're planning a trip, or you check the traffic before you get in your car, this roadmap has existed since the dawn of time, since the existence of the world itself. And so, many times we get these comments on Facebook, this is exactly what I'm going through. Yeah. Like people are shocked. But that's the idea, is that we're here talking about what the entire world is going through in any given week, whether they're aware of it or not. Now, if you know that there's construction on the road, you can come up with another route. Today, we're going to talk about not a route where there's construction, but quite the opposite, that there is a fast track. There is a HOV lane. There is a powerful speed train that you can jump on this week, that we've been talking, by the way. I know Chaim and Batya are guests this last week and this week, but with the past few shows before you're here, we've been talking about the way that the month of Libra is really our opportunity to design the year ahead. And Chaim, you're a Libra, right? Mm-hmm. You can represent better than either of us. The energy of creating balance and balancing whatever darkness or negativity we may have put out in the previous year. Creating the whole month has just opportunity after opportunity to allow us to rewrite or capture any bombs we might have launched into the coming year through our behavior last year. This week is particularly I think that what's interesting, I read a study not long ago that said that the happiest people are the ones who have a sense of control in their lives. Now, I said that purposely the way I said it, because the factor is a sense of control, not actual control, right? But the perception that I am in charge of my life. I get to dictate the direction, the way I go, when I pivot, who I pivot with, who are the characters in my movie. That is where happiness, or that's the common factor, let's say, in the U.S. population that identify themselves as happy people. Kabbalah comes and says there is a recipe for happiness. You don't have to go out and find yourself or your purpose or your soulmate in order to receive happiness. You can create it. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, because this is the week on the Kabbalistic calendar that allows us to tap into the energy of happiness in a way. I mean, you can tap into the energy of happiness any day of the year. This week is instrumental in creating that. Why do you think happiness is so elusive?
So elusive, like you said, people have a sense that they're out of control. They don't see how things operate in a cause and effect way. They don't see the system. They don't understand the technology. We get caught up in our 5-sense illusion. And I like the idea, that our teachers always talk about a magic show. You go to a magician, you pay $500 to sit in the front row. You want your money's worth, which means you want that magician to fool your 5 senses. So our 5 senses don't show us always the whole picture. And so we've been trained over years and years and years to think we have control over the physical things in our life, what we do with a job and our health, etc. And everybody makes an effort to take control. Diet and exercise, put money away for retirement, things like that. But we all have seen and experienced those moments where the best laid plans, as they say, go asunder, because we think we're in control, and then we've lost the perspective of what we call the light force. The light force is always there, and there's always a cause and effect. Like you said, we have to pay back the things that we made mistakes. When I acted with jealousy or greed or ego or fear, those have to be paid. There's no such thing as a spiritual bankruptcy.
I'm a good person.
Yes.
I am out there. I am doing good in the world.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure people have said this to you millions of times, right? Why don't I have what I want? Why aren't I happy? Why isn't my relationship fulfilling me? Why haven't I found my purpose? What do you tell people? I'm asking you, Batya.
I was so lulled by what Chaim was saying. I was like, oh.
Chaim's fan club is in the room,
As
as is Batya's. Batya's fan club is also in the room.
What was the question?
What is it, right? People are out. We're not talking about, mafia kings and drug lords that are saying, I can't find happiness. There are genuinely good people out there that aren't fulfilled, that aren't satisfied, that are doing all the right things.
But you're making happiness, you're equating it with being a good or bad person.
So,
first of all, in Kabbalah, there's no such thing as good or bad.
That was a setup, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You're such a good friend. There's no such thing as good or bad. There's only cause and effect. And happiness is not attached to whether or not I made
Can we rewind that and you say it more slowly and explain what you mean by cause and effect?
Cause and effect. A thought eventually will show up if it's thought about long enough, and it will show up in a physical way. Our intention is 9/10 of the law, right? So intention will eventually show up as an effect. So anything that happens in the unseen world, meaning the world of thought, the world of intention, the world of agenda, let's say, will eventually manifest itself in a physical way. Now, what people don't realize, most people don't realize, is how powerful our thoughts are. And because we don't realize how powerful our thoughts are, we allow ourselves to think like the way people, we love junk food. Don't we love junk food? I love junk food. Not that I can eat it anymore, but and what's great about junk food? It immediately tastes good, but later it's empty and it eventually has an adverse effect. Same thing with our thoughts. We can't afford to have junk thoughts like junk food, because they eventually manifest. So one of the illusions of this world is that I'm going to wait for an event to happen and then I'm going to be happy. I'm going to wait for an event to happen and then I'm going to be successful. I'm going to wait for an event to happen and then I'm going to open my heart and feel love.
With the right person.
With the right person, exactly. And that's all working against the program. That's the prescription for unhappiness, by the way. So the recommendation for happiness is I choose to create happiness now. With my effort, with my intention, I choose to be happy. I choose to ask myself. See, that was the opponent playing with your head right there and your mic. Let's just... I love it.
Don't mind me.
I love it. That's great. You see what just happened there? No coincidences in the universe, right?
Well, but Batya, I think you brought up something that perhaps most of our listeners are not already in touch with, and then you're going to get to finish the story, okay?
All righty.
You don't remember what you were saying, do you?
Of course not. I'm channeling.
Okay. So
I talked about happiness and unhappiness. It's a choice.
So the last week's episode, and I don't mean last week's episode, but the root of what Batya is talking about is that Kabbalah teaches that we're here to be the cause. We're here to be the creators of our reality. We were put on the planet to exercise our creator-like qualities. And if we aren't strong in some of those areas, part of our work is to develop those muscles. So the I'm waiting for my soulmate to rescue me. I'm waiting for that break in my career. I'm waiting to be discovered. That is against the spiritual laws of the universe. Right. Kabbalah teaches that we are here to create our reality. And so it being happy, being fulfilled, finding our place under the sun is not outside of that.
That's right. So I can only imagine, I could practically hear the listeners saying, well, then how does it work then? I mean, that's what I've been taught, and that's what we know. When the right person comes along, then I'm going to love, and everything's going to be okay. And when I hit the lottery, then I'll be rich. It doesn't work that way. It works. We are manifestors. Let me just pre-frame this first and foremost. You can't shut it off. We're always manifesting. We're all creators. We're always manifesting energy. How do we manifest? It always begins in the world of thought. So what we're thinking about will eventually manifest. We use it all the time. For example, I'm thinking about what am I going to have for breakfast. Naturally, I go to food, one of my favorite activities.
Hobbies. It's a hobby.
It's a hobby. Oh, I thought you said it was obvious. Then we were going to have a fight after this episode was over. A proactive fight, of course. No, it's okay. So think about what you do in a day, right? The first thing, what I'm going to have for breakfast. Do you wait till the refrigerator presents you with an omelet? No. You're thinking about,
I wish.
Right? I wish too. You're thinking about, okay, I see myself eating an omelet. What does an omelet taste like? And you're in the experience of eating that omelet. You go, you know what? I'm not in the mood for an omelet. I think I'll have granola and whatever, right? And then you say, oh, what does that feel like? What does that taste like? That tastes good. So then we go and manifest it in a physical level. Well, it's using those same exact muscles, except saying, wow, happiness. What would life be like if I were happy? How would I be living my life? How would I be feeling right now?
What would that taste like?
What would it taste like? What would it feel like? What would it be like? And so it always begins with that. And if we're not sure what it would taste like, we could ask our higher selves, please, allow it to download what would happiness. And then, as Kabbalah teaches us, we've got to take some action. We have to take some action towards that. What's the action that we talked about last time we were together? Sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Letting go of the illusion of lack. Doing an act of sharing, investing, being willing to let go of that momentary selfish desire of what's going to happen to me. What about me now? By the way, the antidote to happiness is being consumed with the thought of what's going to happen to me in the future. If you want to be miserable, just keep thinking that. What's going to happen to me in the future? Because that's what some people, and never being in the present. Where does happiness exist? Only one place, in the present. Right. Where does creation exist? In the present. Where does empowerment exist? In the present. Where does all the good stuff exist? The feeling of love and connectedness? In the present. My effort is to stay present, to stay checked in, to keep asking, what can I do to awaken happiness? That means that I've got to be a giver, that requires it, because sharing is what makes us happy.
And I want to just clarify, give me just one sec. The kind of happiness that we as Kabbalah teachers are talking about is not the temporary kind.
Right.
That I feel it's very in line with the Libra conversation as well, because we spoke actually a few weeks ago that Librans tend to be people pleasers, right?
Yes.
They want, and that's
that's
probably
okay, honey.
that's probably the best. I often think it's the best tikkun, because it's the collateral good that gets done is pretty up there compared to other tikkuns, right? There's
levels of people pleasing, though.
Okay, well, let's have a show about people pleasing then. Maybe next week.
Well, let's put that on our list now. That's number
people
2.
Pleasing.
Yeah, the people
No,
pleasing
because
episode.
I think, I had a conversation with a student earlier this week, and she was saying, I just realized I have really low self-worth. And, I just keep on getting in my own way by looking for quick fixes, wearing a tighter dress, going out with the wrong people.
Right.
She went from being an actress to being a bartender to being, what I'm saying? It's like, and quickly moving between it. It didn't make me happy. Next. It didn't make me happy. Next. And the realization that finally through our work she came to is that if she's not going to work on the desire, the core, that root of, I'm looking for things to make me feel okay, to alleviate that insecurity. I'm not really looking for happiness. I'm just looking to numb the pain of the lack that I feel.
And what is she focused on? The pain.
Right.
And what is she focused on? The lack.
But that's where a lot of our quest for happiness comes from. That's what I wanted to say, that it's not about just not feeling bad. It's about walking into that destiny, that birthright of being truly fulfilled by maybe not every moment in my life, but 95% of the moments in my life.
Well, that's the beauty of the tools of Kabbalah. It helps us focus our consciousness, and we're on the proactive side, and putting it to good use rather than being busy with what I don't want, right? You were going to say something?
Well, to go back to what you were saying, one is to remember that no matter what we say, do, think, or act, everything is cause and effect. People have an idea that cause and effect is only when I want cause to take place. But every thought, whether it's a positive or a negative thought, is creating, because we have the power of the Creator, and everything we do creates. So a question about what about good people? Well, I challenge every one of you who are listening and watching this to think about in the last hour or so, did you feel a little irritated? Did you feel upset? Did you feel a little guilt or shame? We're all great people and good people and kind people, but we all do here and there something that doesn't go along with that. So those little seeds are planted, and then like you said, but I'm a good person, why does this take place? Because over years we've planted seeds of either guilt or shame or resentment or greed or ego that we didn't realize. And those then have to come back to be corrected. And as the Kabbalists teach us, the beauty of what we're learning is how to turn everything into our blessing.
Well, what do you mean it comes back to be corrected? What's like a practical example or something like that?
So let's say 2 years ago, I embarrassed somebody. Jokingly
not intentionally?
Or whatever. Not intentionally. You're at a party and you say something and somebody gets a little embarrassed. Well, that's not light, right? That's not the true blessing. So after 2 years, you forget about it. And 2 years later, somebody comes and embarrasses me in public. Same thing, comes back. Now, I didn't see the cause and effect because it'd been 2 years and I forgot about it. So then I said to myself, but look, I'm a good person. I teach Kabbalah. I help students. How could that happen to me? So that's where the Kabbalists teach us. We have to have certainty. The law of cause and effect is absolute. It works on everything, anytime, the most minute to the most major. And the beauty of being in the 21st century now, everybody's understanding that. Even science got rid of the idea of chaos. They've come to find that there's a harmony and order even to what they call chaos. So when you say happiness, the Kabbalists have a very interesting saying. Who's the wise person? The one that's happy with their lot. Meaning the one who right now can see and experience light, even though it's not going my way. I can see the blessing in it, whether it's the blessing to fix something that I did in the past. Let me ask you, if somebody came to you and you had a $100,000 debt, and somebody came and said, you could pay it off with $1,000, would you be happy or sad? Still have to come up with $1,000. But to pay $1,000 to pay off the $100,000 debt, pennies on the dollar, as we say. So the Kabbalists are teaching us how to accept those things that come our way, use the tools and the wisdom of Kabbalah to turn it into blessing, and therefore we're paying off, in essence, spiritually, pennies on the dollar. So I accept that I'm being embarrassed in public because I must have done something somewhere. I don't remember, doesn't mean I didn't do it. But I'm happy to embrace it, to forgive and let go for whatever the person did, because my cause and effect is for me, your cause and effect is for you, and it's all individual.
And by the way, what Chaim is sharing, the whole week, the universe is going to give us the opportunity to choose, to exercise our free will. Am I going to be focused on what isn't perfect, what's not going according to my timeline, who's not, doing good by their promises, what's wrong with the system, quote unquote, or am I going to focus on what is and what I have and what's grown and changed and transformed? And that focusing on the positive, focusing on what is versus what isn't, also, according to Kabbalah, draws even more blessing, more goodness. And I want to share a very mundane story. And I think that, again, I know some of the people that are watching, part of what brings misery and happiness is expectation. And misery and unhappiness, right? You set out...
Actually, you're right the first time.
Misery and happiness.
It's expectation.
Expectation, right. That we in our minds, we create, we think we know what's going to happen, and that goes back to the whole sense of control, right? I planned out my day, my week, my vacation, my job trajectory, and something interrupted it, or it didn't go my way. We were on vacation. It's funny, it's a vacation story. We were on vacation a few months ago, and we were supposed to stay in an Airbnb. And literally, as we were driving there, we got an email that our reservation was canceled. Okay, we are 7 people, in a foreign country. This was planned. We made the reservation, months ago. And we're driving there, and we're like, what are we going to do? Do you know how hard it is to find an apartment for 7 people on a whim? So I'm driving, and my husband is in the driver's seat, passenger seat, and he's looking on his phone. What else can he find? And he says, you know what? It's not that far from it. It's a little bit more expensive, but let's go for it. And his tendency, right? Again, he's the travel agent in the family. Every detail was planned out. The only variable was, what are we going to eat for dinner?
Right. We should take him on our family vacations because it doesn't look like that.
Well, but this was the beauty, and by the way, the whole trip was instance and instance of this scenario in different forms. He found a place. He contacted the owner manager. He said, "I'll meet you there in an hour." Free parking was like everything got better and better and like we were across the street.
The sea parted for you.
That was exactly what it was. It was like suddenly the clouds parted and rays of light came down and we were shown. And what's the way that I saw it, I'm not reacting. I'm just trying to follow the map as I'm driving through this, uncharted territory for me. I'm thinking to myself, we made a lot of powerful effort to grow and to transform and to be beacons of light in these last few weeks. And it was like watching the movie, the train move tracks, like we unlocked another level on the video game because we fulfilled the previous mission. And in that moment, I thought, we could be calling up whatever company and saying, you can't do this. This is against it. No, you owe us. And it was instead just, okay, pivot. Exactly. This is not where we're supposed to be sleeping. This is where we're supposed to be sleeping. It was an awesome apartment. But that idea that in that moment you have a choice, it can be the end of the world or it can be the best thing that ever happened to you. And that choice is where the happiness is. Am I going to be the cause of my reality or is the guy who canceled the reservation going to be the cause?
Isn't it what we learn, that the light is in the business?
Right.
So if the light is infinite and it's always present, all we have to do is stay focused on the light and not get caught up. Being a Libra, as you mentioned, I was just getting the vision as you were talking about, the tightrope walker. So there's one tightrope, and that in essence is the balance, is to stay focused, or we'd call it on the light. Now at the same time, as you go along, and we're talking about the month of Libra, scales. So as the tightrope walker is holding that long pole, sometimes it shifts this way, sometimes this way, etc. But the idea is to stay focused on the tightrope that you're walking on and not be thrown off by this. So good or bad comes our way. The more we stay focused on the light and connect to the light as you did, then the more we're going to be able to make it unharmed from one side to the other. And then the shifts of the good or the bad, going up and down, what looks like chaos, we start to see the true balance.
Being on vacation, it's also not such a big deal. There are people that they get fired from a job that they've been counting on, or they find out that they've been betrayed or cheated or
But you know what? It's the universe's way of giving that person a promotion. Last time someone came to me crying, she said, I said, what's the matter? She said, I got fired. I said, fantastic, congratulations. She looked at me, I was crazy. Why are you saying congratulations? I said, because the universe is giving you a promotion that you refuse to give yourself. Now you have no choice but to grow.
But underlying everything that we're talking about is that guiding principle that the Creator is on our team.
That's right.
People have this perception that God likes us, God doesn't like us. Why would God do this to me?
Such a dangerous perception.
Kabbalah teaches unequivocally that the light force of the Creator is a positive force.
Yes.
Conspiring for us to have the best opportunities to do our spiritual work. And in that video game, think about the video games. I always go back to like Super Mario Brothers or Zelda or whatever,
Just dated yourself. But
whatever. Okay. There's hidden boosts.
Yeah.
So that in getting fired, there is a hidden boost there. Are you going to be excited?
Yes.
Or are you going to play the victim card?
Can I share a personal story?
Please.
So I came to the center in 1987. I decided, in 1984, I was teaching other spirituality, and I was looking for what I was going to do, where I was going to go out and teach. And I fell into a job that was very comfortable. It was great. I was outdoors all the time. I played with kids all the time. I was working at a private elementary school. And I was now becoming complacent in the job, and I wasn't pushing myself to be a spiritual teacher. And so after 3 years of that job, the woman who owned the school, she called me into the office just before Thanksgiving break. And she says, Chaim, we decided we're not going to renew your contract. You're let go after Thanksgiving. And in that microsecond, I realized, as you were saying, it was the universe pushing me and saying, no, you've got to get out there and be a spiritual teacher. And so, like I tell people, I almost got up and kissed the woman, but I figured she would have thought I was really nuts. So thank you, and I moved on. And that ultimately led me, shortly thereafter, within the next 6 months, I found the Kabbalah Center. So had I not, been fired, I wouldn't have been where I am now.
What okay, you were already on a spiritual path and
Right.
were able to recognize that. A lot of our listeners are either early on in their spiritual path or just deciding, do they want to, is this a direction they want to go in? When you come up, any of us come up against a situation that could send us spiraling down,
Right.
what's your advice? What are some practical tools that our listeners can use when given it's the end of the world or it's my next level?
Call 1-800-Kabbalah. That's the first advice. Get yourself seriously a Kabbalah teacher. Don't be afraid to ask for help. The worst ego is I can do it by myself. I don't need anybody's help, or I can't trust anyone, or et cetera and so forth. That's the first thing. The second thing is there are two ways to ask this question. Why is this happening? God, why? Not why is this happening? Why are you doing this to me? That's the robotic reactive response. Well, the other way to ask it, why is this happening to me? Where is my opportunity? What's the universe telling me? Because the universe always wants me to grow, is always giving me opportunities to grow, pressure to grow, to evolve. So I'm resisting it in some way. Where is that next opening? To look for it, you'll find it. You don't look for it, you won't find it, obviously. But you've got to look for it in order to find it.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying. The light is always there. And that's one of the most difficult things to keep in mind in those challenging moments, that the light is there and it wants us to be the best version of ourselves. Because as they say, God doesn't create junk. So every one of us are filled with the light of the Creator, 100%. We just have to learn how to make it manifest. It's like children. Any of you who have children, your children, as they grow up, you see a certain potential in them. But you still give them lessons in some way to allow them to express it and benefit from it. So too, if the Creator put that light inside of us, we have to find ways and means to bring it out, and the universe conspires to help us do it. It's just in that moment we're a little, like we say, thrown off balance, and we've got to remember, no, the light is there, it's pushing us forward.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in. You ready?
Okay.
Someone ratted out on me or said some bad stuff about me, and that's why I lost my job.
Right.
God forbid.
Okay.
But
Bless them.
bless them. No, but I'm saying, like,
Yes.
the
They're
in
just
the
an
1%,
instrument.
it looks like
Yes.
someone's out to get me.
Yes.
I have bills to pay. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
I'm asking you, like, we want to bring it down to Joe on the street.
This happened, again, another story here, a student, elderly woman, lost her residence, didn't have a place to stay, didn't have money, couldn't get a job, nobody would hire her, came to me crying. And then I had to give her a little tough love and let her know that, the way that everything that she was going through was the effect of whatever was whatever consciousness has been that was leading up to that. And so after a vigorous conversation, those of you who know me know what I mean, to help her shift her consciousness, to realize that she's creating it. I know it doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's happening to me. But eventually going to realize that, the next level of happening to me is happening for me. Long story short, after using the tools, Zohar and other tools that we offer at the center, at the Kabbalah Center, within a few weeks, no, not even with a few weeks, she already, found a way to start getting employment, then had another consciousness relapse, needed to come in for another session, where I had to vigorously help her shift passionately, maybe that's a better word. Get her to realize what she was doing to herself, and then shift her consciousness again. Then she got back up, got back on the saddle, let's say, and coincidentally or not, won the lottery.
I remember you told me this story.
Right. Wow. She was...
Not everybody is as lucky to see such stark examples of cause and effect,
That's what happens when you have a prosperity coach.
There you go.
But, so if I, God forbid, was being a friend rather than a teacher, a real guide, I would have said, oh, you poor thing. Oh, you can't pay your rent. That's terrible. Oh, who can we blame? Oh, let me affirm your limited lack reality, your suffering with you. Instead of, no, if you really want a friend, make sure you go to that person that says, snap out of it. create a better reality. You can do this. You're the master. You're the creator. You can do this. Here, the universe is giving us tools, giving us time frames, giving us windows of opportunity. Like the first 21 days of Libra is all about manifesting our destiny for the coming year. If you're hearing this right now, that means you've been given that gift to go find out more information about what that means for you and how you can shift your life. That's really what it's all about. It's amazing.
Each one of our movies, our life story is tailor-made for us.
Absolutely.
So part of I think what brings people to a lack of happiness is looking out for the Joneses. Try to keep up with the Joneses, looking what, they got what they needed, or that they got.
Well, the opposite, by the way. What about the person who says, I made a multi-millions of dollars in real estate. Here's how I did it, right? And they get up and give lectures and write books. And here's how you can be a millionaire in 5 seconds. Read this book, whatever. Buy my program. And then what happens? The only person who gets richer is that person who had the consciousness in the first place.
Well, but I think that part of it is when you look at life as a competition and you're not ahead of the game. Your family's saying to you, well, when are you going to get married?
Right.
Or what, you don't make enough money to move out on your own, or you don't,
what's worse, you tell that to yourself.
Well, but I'm saying at a certain point, it becomes the soundtrack of your life. You hear it in your own mind over and over again, and therefore are drawn again out of the present into the future where it may happen, or into the past where back in the good old days, when I was in school, right, you see the kids who want to get out of school quickly and you think to yourself, oh my God, stay in school. It's so much easier when you're in school. But how can we refocus, not look at how well everyone else is doing, how beautiful everyone else is, how rich.
Oh, go ahead.
Let's stop and think. So a person has a challenge, like you said, somebody rats out on them and they get fired from the job. That's an experience. That's what the universe has thrown at you. Now, what we don't stop to think is, over all the years and all the friends and people that you hear about, they're all responding in one way. Something happens, you have to respond. The issue now is which way you're responding, as we call it, proactive or reactive. But everybody's responding, even if it's to start blaming people and, be the victim, etc. That's a form of response. If we are creators because of the light inside of us, then that's what we're creating, is a consistent series of experiences that will make people feel victimized. If we're learning now to apply the tools of Kabbalah, we can do the opposite. We can now proactively connect to the light, shine the light, and the universe is going to manifest in its own form anyway. We've just always had the illusion, I went to school, I studied, and therefore I did well in school, and therefore I got this job, and I created all these physical things, but I created them. The part we forgot is, without the light of the Creator, we can do nothing. I can't think, I can't talk, I can't wake up in the morning, etc. So it's always been the light. Now we're acknowledging, one, it's always been the light, and it's a partnership, and learning how to use that partnership more proactively and more creatively moving forward. That's a sense of happiness. If you knew you had that spiritual bodyguard that was always there protecting you and helping you along, or that spiritual guide, you'd already feel content. And that's the essence of happiness, is to be walking in life content, fulfilled, serene, even when the challenges come. One of my favorite examples, the Rubik's Cube, because I cannot do it. You buy it off the shelf, it's perfect. You make a few twists and turns, and now it looks like it's chaos. Is it chaos? No, it's just disorder, but there's an order to it. If you know the system, like my kids do, they can look at it and they can twist it back into its perfection in a few minutes, and they're enjoying the process. They're happy with the process. I don't know how to do it. I could twist forever and a day. It would just be eternal hell, because it always looked chaotic. Not because it is. I don't know the system.
My daughter, at her high school graduation, the valedictorian fixed a Rubik's Cube during her speech.
Oh my God, really? That's impressive.
The speech was about how putting together the puzzle is the purpose.
Right.
Wow.
It's not about completing it, because you complete it. The point is how you grow and transform, and it was really beautiful. But we were like,
right.
Wow.
She was just like, "Hi, everybody," and it was really left a really strong impression on all of us. I like the metaphor because everyone has their own puzzle.
Right.
And I think that looking at what other people are doing is no indication of what you should be doing.
Exactly.
Stop wasting the energy on how's everybody else doing, my older sister this, my neighbor that, my friend from college that, and focus on what's your puzzle. What's the next move? What's the missing piece in your puzzle?
That comes with trusting the process, like trusting I'm exactly where I need to be for my soul's correction, my soul's evolution. And there's never really a competition with other people. Even if it looks like it, no, the test, the challenge, the opportunity is for me to trust my process and for you to trust your process. And the universe doesn't make mistakes.
That's true. Sometimes it's hard to believe that.
But, people say, God, why did you create such a world of violence and corruption and hatred and pollution? Well, that light force, intelligence, energy, whatever that is, gave us the ultimate gift of love, and that's free will. We're the ones who've been screwing it up all this time. So once I take 100% responsibility, accountable for my response to what's going on, then I have the power to create the life I want. That's what it's really all about. And, we can't do it by ourselves. We weren't created that way because we're all part of each other. And that's why we need each other to give each other opportunities to be reactive and to give guidance and to mirror back our loves, our hatreds, our insecurities, et cetera, and so forth, so that we can enjoy the journey, as crazy as that may sound.
Well, many times in our shows, we try to bring forth some concepts from Kabbalah 1, right? And Kabbalah 1 is our fundamental...
You mean from Kabbalah1.com?
I do. I mean from Kabbalah1.com. But all three of us, we teach the course ourselves. And for me, I think one of the simple, I want to leave everybody with what do you do this week? And okay. I think that we can take a chunk from Kabbalah 1 around thoughts, words, and actions, right? Kabbalah teaches that everything we do has impact, and that every thought, every word, and every action that we do is a seed that's going to bear fruit. I mean, Chaim, you said it before, if you embarrassed that person 2 years ago, you don't realize that the reason you're embarrassed right now is connected to that. But if we spend this week focused on having more positive, more elevated, more conscious thoughts, more conscious words, more conscious actions, just in these 7 days. Don't try and do it for, just start small. How different our energy, our mentality, our mindset will be. I mean, I'm trying to think of something very practical to bring that energy of happiness to a manifestable level.
Happiness is something you choose to create.
Right.
That's the first thing.
So, but that's what I'm saying.
So step number 1, have a desire to know what happiness is. Already set yourself up into that consciousness of being happy without waiting for an excuse
and
to be happy.
And it's not, how can I make myself happy right now?
Exactly.
That's, again, I think that's something, I don't know.
But what makes us happy? Sharing makes us happy. That's the long-term fulfillment. Temporary.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on that one.
Okay.
I talked to a woman a number of years ago who said, I'm done with people. I have given everything, the shirt off my back, right, the love in my heart, the space on my couch,
right,
and everyone has abused, abandoned, rejected me.
Right.
Sharing doesn't feel good, Batya.
That wasn't sharing, Elisheva. Right? That was keeping score. So, you can always tell who is a true sharing person and who isn't. The person who keeps score is not. Right? And for every person on the couch, they wanted something in return. For every meal they cooked, they wanted something for
No, I'm
return.
just a good person. This is who I am.
Okay, and who you are is someone who needs more information about how to win at the game of life. How to succeed at the game of life. And it's not, and your competitor is not the other human beings. Your competitor is the opponent. We talked about that before. The accessory that comes with our virtual reality suit, called our body consciousness. And, taking responsibility, because when we blame other people and we judge other people and we make it about other people, it's basically drinking the poison for ourselves and waiting for the other person to die, right? So who is she helping? Is she improving the quality of her life by holding on to that story? Is it really helping her to hold on to that story? Or does she need a vigorous conversation with me?
I mean, I
that
think it's
kind
in the Libran spirit. You know,
I'm kidding.
I'm kind and I'm giving and I'm sharing, and even I think that in hearing what that person would respond to, she would probably say, "I don't want anything in return." But what she really did want was acknowledgement, recognition, and feeling valued.
Right. And whose job is it to give it to her?
Well, you and I know the answer to that question. She was really struggling with, where
how
is
does
my
a
life if I'm not giving and serving
Right,
other people?
but where does that come from, right? That she wants that acknowledgement. If she's waiting for some outside source to get that acknowledgement, then she's always going to feel lack. She's always going to be unhappy. There'll never be enough acknowledgement. It's got to come from within. It's about awakening gratitude that she has an opportunity to be doing her soul's creation, or I should say evolution, right? In this lifetime, having these opportunities to have to wake up for that. By the way, it's very, very almost impossible the things we're saying, to do it on our own. It really is almost impossible. It's easy to say, oh yeah, have a good thought. But we know, in the Kabbalists teach us that we have tools for that. We not only have a spiritual community that we belong to, but we also have tools to help us to have attitude attunement. The tools like the Zohar and the connections and the books we read and the things we do, the classes we take, is constant food for the soul. The soul must eat. The soul needs energy like the body needs nutrition to do its spiritual work. So I just, it's easy to say, oh yeah, well, love yourself. Really? But that doesn't, as we know, that's not very practical, or really even, that doesn't work. One
of the concepts that the Kabbalists speak about is light can only come out of darkness. So one of the most difficult things for us to do, as you're saying, but I'm always giving and I've always helped, etc., is to stop and really ask, like you're sharing, what was my agenda? What was my intent? So I share with my kids. I want my kids to have a great life. But my initial thought is, well, if they'll do this and this and this as I tell them to do, and I'm giving them the best of my advice or my love or my this, because I want them to go in this direction, right? Because I think it's good for them. There's also that part that I'm looking to be the good parent. I want the successful kids and I want this. So to take responsibility and acknowledge, yes, there's a part. Remember, it's not all or nothing. Of course, we love our kids, we love our family, we love our friends, we want good for people. So we give, but we've got to acknowledge then the part of that giving, that action, that was also looking to receive in return from them or from the circumstances.
And that doesn't have to be something tangible. It's very often emotional or mental, that intellect, knowing I did good, feeling proud. Those are all connected with that.
Right.
Ultimately, each and every one of us has our own primary relationship, and that is with the Creator within, our higher self. That's really the place to start.
That's why I think if we can all focus on planting those positive seeds this week, not because I want something in return.
Right.
I think one of the most stark aha moments I had in my Kabbalah studies was the realization that every time I react negatively to something, I'm planting another negative seed.
Right.
I'm attracting to my life another challenging situation. So if anything, my incentive was, wow, if getting upset about this, my expectations not being met, if getting upset by that is going to create another situation where my expectations are not going to be met, I'll be excited now and eliminate the need for disappointment or whatever other, balancing mechanism I would need for that moment. And for all of us this week, that the awareness that, the universe is giving us those opportunities not to undermine us or to get in our way, but actually the opposite.
It's always helping us.
To assist us to the next level in this video game.
So we can feel good about that.
Right. And recognize it and help other people notice it as well.
And forgive ourselves for planting the seeds that we planted yesterday. I hope no one's beating themselves up about yesterday's seeds.
Right.
Don't worry.
That just creates more negative seeds.
Exactly. And it's always for the same purpose, education. We're educating our soul consciousness to constantly be evolving to our highest potential. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's all good and it's all God.
Yes.
On that note, I want to remind everyone that you may be listening on Facebook. You may also find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Castbox, Stitcher, and now on the Kabbalah Center's YouTube channel. We have our own playlist there. I cannot thank you guys enough for taking time out of
Oh, it's a
your
pleasure to be
crazy, busy, fabulous lives to be here with us in Hollywood, California. Any parting words for our listeners? Farewells, shout outs?
I think for me it's always been you understand the light is always there and I can always connect to it. And if I think now I'm planting those seeds, as we call them, of goodness coming in the future, I don't have to see them now. If I put a rose seed in the ground, I'm already envisioning that the rose is going to grow, so I can be happy now while it still looks like dirt. And that
That's
becomes
beautiful.
That is
ultimate
beautiful.
happiness, because I'm connecting to the light now, and I'm trusting that the light, as we've said, wants the best for us. So the fruit is going to grow, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to smell like a rose, and it's going to be a rose, because I'm happy now, and therefore I'll be even more happy when it comes out.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very
Batya,
nice.
anything?
Go to Kabbalah.com. Follow the yellow brick road. Go to Kabbalah.com and begin your journey there. And we'll be waiting.
Thank you guys for
Thank you,
listening, for
Elisheva.
sharing. Thank you for being here.
Our pleasure.
Have a
Thanks for
fabulous
having
week,
us.
everyone. We'll see you next Sunday on the Weekly Energy Boost.